Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing earman-homimii in the 15-minute pool on ICC. Forgot which pool I was in for a second. This guy has a really high rating. I'm just checking out his stats. 62 wins, 1 loss, 5 draws. Wow. And his ratings are high in every category. So let's open with d4 against him. 5-minute rating of 25.36. Yeah. Standard rating of 25.53. Standard's a slightly separate category. All right, so are we going to get a Grunfeld or a King's Indian? Looks like a King's Indian today. Let's play a Samish variation, f3. I do like this line, and now knight ge2. The point of this move order being to stay flexible with the dark square bishop, so just wait a moment before developing this piece. Let's play bishop e3 now, though. I pretty much have to bring this out sooner or later, and when they play knight bd7, not striking at my center, I think it is a good time to play this. The only other square that makes sense is g5, but bishop g5 isn't really leading to much, I don't think, in the previous position. So let's see if he plays a setup. Oh, okay, I thought he might play something with c6 or c5, but instead he plays e5. This is possible, although in my experience, you don't often see the combination of knight bd7 and e5. So I can keep the tension with a move like queen d2, or I can simply push. Probably I'll push. I think this is a fine way to play it. So the center is now a bit closed. Knight h5. This opens up the possibility of f5. I might end up castling queenside in view of that. He is pushing on the king side, so I may not want to castle over there. Yeah, let's play queen d2. He could play queen h4 check to try to disturb us, but I can simply respond with g3. And knight takes g3 is not working because we have knight takes knight. Note that the h-pawn would be pinned, though. Sometimes that's relevant if they play knight h5 and they try to bring the queen into h4. That's a really strong record. 62 wins, 1 loss, 5 draws. That's a pretty good win-to-loss ratio, I'd say. Okay, and f5 is played. So here's where I was thinking castle queenside. Taking is sometimes a reasonable option too. So e takes f5, g takes f5, but I don't see any reason to do it right now. Computers often like capturing on f5. And when I've analyzed these positions in the Samish, they frequently suggest that capture, often in conjunction with g4, but clearly that would be premature with my king being in the middle. Let's just castle. So take our king to safety. And I wonder if he'll play f4 or if he'll keep the tension. Somehow I don't think he'll take. Yeah, he pushes f4, so let's drop this back. Now we have a closed position in the center and on the king side. Positions in the Samish where you castle on opposite wings sometimes proceed differently than what you'd expect out of opposite side castling. They can be a bit more strategic in nature, and white may actually end up playing on the queen side instead of just curling up into a ball over here. So a plan of playing king b1 and rook c1 and looking to play c5 down the line is possible in this type of position. So a5 seems reasonable. He's just staking out space. Stops me from playing b4. I don't think he'll continue with a4 because we might have something like queen c2 and knight takes a4 after that. So I'm debating just playing king b1. So if king b1, let's say knight c5, what's going on there? Maybe b3 then? I could also try to play knight a4 if I want to absolutely keep his knight out of c5, but that seems artificial because I think knight a4 he'll play b6 and eventually knight c5 anyways. So let's start with this move. It's flexible. I may end up playing on the king side, aka I might try to arrange g4 or g3 down the line. especially if it looks like I'm not getting anywhere on the queen side. But for now, let's just wait and see. There's no rush. The pace of play can really slow down when the center becomes closed like this. So we'll see if that's the case here. I got this game right away, too. As soon as I hit 15-minute to enter the 15-minute pool, this game just popped up immediately. So fortunate to get a good, a high-rated, strong opponent, because we've been playing down quite a bit in rating in the 15-minute category lately. That's just the way the pool has paired us. Yeah, knight c5. So if I take d takes c6, then black has the dark square bishop. I have exchanged off my good bishop. I would be left with this bad one. But I wonder if bishop takes c5, d takes c5, d6, just trying to barrel through in the center, is decent. Looks kind of strange and perhaps premature. Well, maybe not strange. That's probably not the correct adjective. Anti-positional, maybe, giving up your good bishop. But it is something I'm thinking about. I think knight c1 would be the other obvious option. Trying to maneuver the knight to, let's say, d3 and look to trade knight for knight. Theoretically, the position is closed, and that should favor knights, but parting with this dark square bishop would be a major decision, so if I do play bishop takes c5, it's not going to be without consequence. I wonder, though, bishop takes c5, d takes c5, d6. He can't ignore the threat of d7, so he'd either take or maybe play bishop e6. So let's say bishop takes c5, d takes c5, d6, bishop e6. I can take c7, queen takes, and then maybe knight d5. That looks pretty good for us. What else is there? So bishop takes c5, d takes c5, d6. Let's say c takes d6, queen takes d6. Then I'm hitting his queen and the c5 pawn. So let's say queen takes d6, rook takes d6. I get d5 for my knight. His knight is a long way from being able to use d4. All right, I'm going to try it because I think if I wait to make that move, then he might play b6, and if ever I play bishop takes c5, then he can take with a b pawn. Okay, so he like instantly brought the knight back to f6. So he anticipated this continuation. So now if I take c7, he's going to take with the queen. And then let's say knight d5, knight takes d5, maybe e takes d5, but then he gets in potentially e4. So what about a line d takes c7, queen takes c7, knight b5? And then wherever the queen moves, maybe knight e to c3 and try to get the other knight into d5. I like the look of that. Let's do that. Got to be wary of the time. But I think knight b5 looks good. I mean, I kind of split his two pawns here. This is a great outpost square. And if I can direct this other knight into d5, this is looking good. He's going to have a hard time dealing with both knights. He can probably tolerate them, but I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of the knights gets traded off, like knight for knight on d5. Queen b6 played pretty quickly. So I can play queen d6, I can also play knight c3. Queen d6 forces a trade, but is it necessary? Knight c3 just seems normal. Let's say knight c3, he can't play rook d8. I could also move my queen, like say queen c3, and try to threaten rook d6. His queen is looking perhaps misplaced on the b6 square, but if I move my queen, there's rook d8. Okay, so I'm mainly debating between queen d6 and knight c3 right now. Okay, let's just play knight c3. Bring this knight one step closer to the promised land on d5. Queen d6 is still up for grabs. Plays a4. Aggressive. Now I'm thinking queen d6. Attacking the queen. If the queen moves to a5, then the c5 pawn is hanging, at the very least. Could also play knight d5 right now, but he might just take. Queen d6 seems like a better way of doing the job here, of utilizing the d file. Yeah, let's do that. I somehow get the sense he doesn't like his position, and sometimes people start moving fast when they are disliking the situation they're in. Okay, so probably rook takes. Bishop d7 to complete development. But then I can just play bishop e2 and rook hd1. I'm not worried about a3. My knight guards that square. And if necessary, I could always push b3 to keep the queen side absolutely closed. Yeah, I like my position for a couple reasons. One, I have control of the d file. My rook is sitting here. It's the only truly open file in the position. There's not even a semi-open file. The d file is the only thing. And two, I have these knights that are either on a good square or poised to go into a good square. The b5 knight is excellently placed, and this knight can come into d5. Rook a6, that's interesting. So he's maybe willing to accept double isolated pawns and strand this pawn on a4 in order to simplify. So rook takes, pawn takes, then my knight is under attack, so something like knight c7, let's say. Then a4 is weak. Also a6 is weak. I could also just play a developing move here, like bishop e2 and get ready for rook d1. Say bishop e2, rook takes d6, knight takes d6. a4 is still loose there. Let's do that. I don't think I have to trade right away. I will pre-move this trade. So as tempting as it is to trade and give him double pawns, I don't know that that's the best plan. Interesting. So now I can take on a6, he takes, and then I can take with the knight. I am just up a pawn there. He gets the file, but I can always kind of stuff that file with knight d5. This is a strange way of playing for him. All right, let's do this. Go take the pawn, and probably I'll play knight d5 to just shut down the play in the middle. Okay, let's bring the rook over. I'm going to play a little quicker. I like my position. I don't see any particular threats he's even able to generate here. c5 is weak. We have the file. This knight can come to d5, perhaps a4. This is the one piece that's truly bad, but I hope to get it in the game in the future. Okay, so here, what if I play rook to d6? Because then he can't, well, he could play rook f8, but I have knight d5 all the same. Maybe king f7 then. Yeah, king f7 takes care of that problem. So rook d6, rook c8, knight d5, king f7. Even that somehow still looks good for me. Yeah, let's do that. Because I can maneuver this knight. After I play this knight to d5, maybe I'll play like king c1, knight b1, knight c3, something along those lines. Maybe knight d5, though. He can play king f7 and then try to follow up with knight e8. So perhaps I should play bishop d1 here, trying to go bishop a4. That might be a better plan. He still has that knight e8 move. But okay, let's do this. Gotta watch that time, 5 minutes. And he's got practically double my time. Yeah, let's come back here. Bishop a4. King c1. Let's go bishop a4. Yeah, he's in blitz mode already. What's he going to do about rook d5 now, though? Okay, he's going to put the bishop on f8, it seems. Okay. It's the only way to defend the c5 pawn. Incredibly passive position for black, though. King c2 now. Or do I want to play knight c2 to a1 to b3 to attack c5? Let's do that. This is a static weakness. It's not going anywhere. Ooh, I can also go knight e1 to d3. The only plan I see for him to try to get out of this is rook c6 and then knight c7. Well, I guess you can try this too. So is knight c7 coming next? I'm still going to do this. So knight c7, knight takes c5, he has king e7. And then my knight and my rook are under attack. So I probably shouldn't take that pawn on c5. It might be possible to take and then, give up an exchange, maybe in hopes of getting the a6 pawn, but I'm already up a solid pawn. I don't have to take that risk. Let's bring in the knight to that square. Okay. All right, let's come back here. Yeah, he's going to push on that wing. He's got to do something to gain counterplay, so it makes sense. Let's come here. Maybe I want to play a3, b4 eventually, though. I'm not sure. Knight b6. Knight b6, rook c6, knight d5. Let's do that. Again, gotta watch the time. That's critical. Really? Just taking. So now I can take back with a pawn and take on g4? I don't understand this. Take here, king over. Take here. c4 maybe is his plan. That can't be good, though.
Check.
Okay, let's do that. So if c4, knight a5, it's going to do it this way. Okay, let's play h3. So we're up 2 pawns now. My knight is misplaced. I need to improve this piece. Like knight a5 to c4 would be nice. He has breakthroughs like f3 or moving the h pawn. But it's a little time consuming for him to do much here. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised by this player's rating, the way they played this game. It's almost like they've been playing a little coffee house chess, trying to work the clock a lot. c4 is good timing, though. I missed that he could do this. So do I have to come to c1 or a1 then? Because knight a5, he has bishop b4. That is unfortunate a little bit. Okay, let's come here. So I want to go rook c2 and take on c4, ideally. This bishop can try to come in on the dark squares like bishop c5, d4 somehow. The c4 pawn, though, is a big question mark. Okay, let's just do this. Yeah, and now if he plays the rook back to f8, I can try to take this pawn. Let's come here. Ah, c4 was just hanging. I think I could have just taken that. I don't know why I didn't. Playing too fast. Yeah, rook takes c4 on the previous move. Whoops. All right, well, nevertheless, I have a plan, perhaps of playing like knight g1 to f3. Just got to make sure that this bishop move doesn't annoy me too much. Just thinking a little bit now. Okay, let's play a3. And rook here. I'm going to try to play king up to c2. I could take c4 on the previous move, but he might gain some counterplay with the likes of f3 or maybe rook e3. So I'm trying to prevent that plan. I didn't think he could trade like this, but maybe. Okay, let's bring this up first. So what are you going to do if I just go try to win your c-pawn? B4 check. King here, d6. Bishop back. Well, I don't have to do anything yet, so let's just do this. Actually, I can run my h and my g pawns too. He's kind of locked out. Let's go after that h pawn. Come here. Bishop e3. Bishop e3, I can just take it. Play like king d1 to e2. Right, take. Pawn takes, king d1. This d pawn is strong. Yeah, that's a win. I can also utilize my majority over here if necessary. Like push h4 and g5. And he just resign. Strange game for a player that seemed pretty strong just based on his record, 62-1. Well, I think he played very fast. He played too fast. But let's go back and take a look at it. So we have a King's Indian, same-ish variation. And I've talked about the virtues of 6 knight ge2 in the same-ish variation many times. Bishop e3 is the main move, but I happened upon this move several years back, and I've really liked it. It's given me some good results from the white side. I think it's kind of lost some of its surprise value. Perhaps 5 years ago, this move would have been a bit more unexpected to King's Indian players, but nowadays, the virtues of this are known. And the point is just to delay the development of the dark square bishop and look for a better time to bring that into the game. So the move I see most often here is c5, striking at the center. And then after d5, you get a Benoni-esque position. Knight bd7 is sometimes played, but I mostly see that move associated with c6 or sometimes c5. So combining knight bd7 with e5 is more rare. So I close the center. Knight h5, queen d2, looking to castle long. I think the play in the opening was logical. Black takes the opportunity to shut down the king side. And now a5. I'm going to add in the engine right here. So I played king b1. When you've castled queenside, king b1 is a useful move in a lot of circumstances. Like you see many open Sicilians where white castles queenside and then just immediately plays king b1. You tuck your king away a bit further. Sometimes you can utilize the c-file. In the Sicilian, especially when there's a half-open c-file that black has at their disposal, king b1 is good prophylaxis against threats that can be created down that file. So here my opponent played knight c5, and I made the decision to part with the dark square bishop, so give up arguably my best minor piece. But in doing so, I grabbed this opportunity to play d6, which turned out very well. So this is an example where a short-term consideration will trump a long-term theme. Usually with a pawn structure where you have all pawns on light squares, your dark square bishop would be a valuable piece and you'd want to hang on to it. But in this case, giving up the bishop for the knight is a pretty good idea, I think, because I get this immediate pawn push, and I'm well placed to take advantage of that. I have my queen and my rook backing up the pawn on the file, and I have knights that are ready to come into good squares. I really think he should have slowed down a little bit because he quickly got a poor position out of this. Knight f6 might be okay. I am threatening d7, so knight f6 is good in stopping that pawn push. So d takes c7, queen takes c7. I played knight b5. The computer says knight d5 is also worth considering. Yeah, potentially. But I think it's nice to use one knight on b5 and send the other one to d5. So that's why I did that. And that comes with tempo too on his queen. Knight ec3. I thought about queen d6, but it didn't seem like I had to play this move quite yet. I already believe my position is plenty good, so I think I can hold off on the queen infiltration. When you have a better position, you have to resist the urge sometimes to try to force the play. And it often is superior for you to kind of nurse the advantage and play normal moves rather than moves that try to enforce a trade or simplify the position before it's ready. Because when you're better, the natural tendency is to try to remove any risk, and often trading down is a way to do that. But I think here knight ec3 is a fine move, and it's consistent with my goal of getting the knight to d5. I don't have to force a queen trade yet, even though I would like to. So knight e to c3, he plays a4. The pawn just became weak. I know it's not great on a5 either, but pushing to a4 has almost no upside as far as I can tell. The only upside would be to try to utilize the a5 square for the queen or the rook or something, but more likely I think this pawn is just a target. So that seems like a mistake. Maybe he should play something simple like bishop e6. It crossed my mind like maybe he could play bishop d7, trying to put the bishop on c6, which is especially relevant if I do something like this. But he has problems with knight a4. That's right. Attacking the queen in c5. Yeah, that's true. Though he could trade on d6 once again. Probably he should develop this bishop, if not to d7, then to e6, and that seems better than pushing the a-pawn. So a4, queen d6, we get a trade. Yeah, so now I control the only open file. The a-pawn is weak. I feel like my minor pieces are better. The only piece that isn't good is the bishop. But after we play bishop e2, it's conducive to doubling up the rooks, and later on the bishop might go to d1 to try to attack that pawn on a4. In the game I was able to win this pawn pretty quickly, but if that pawn had stuck around on a4, that might be the way to round it up. Bishop e2 to d1. He played rook a6. Once again, I was tempted to trade immediately, but I played bishop e2 instead. I mean, trading and then knight c7 was a possibility, but despite giving him doubled pawns, I don't think this is the best way of proceeding. I lose some time moving the knight again. So I can just play a developing move, prepare the rook to come over, and say, if you want to trade, then that's okay. I'm willing to allow that on d6. But then this pawn is still weak, and I'm attacking his light square bishop at the same time. So if he played rook d8 here, I can take, and then take on a4 probably. And then this rook is tied to the defense of this pawn. I'm ready to play rook d1. I got to watch out for transitions to opposite color bishop positions, but otherwise I'm loving my position. So he played a3, and here I did trade because I saw I could win this pawn cleanly. So now we're up a pawn. This knight is not as well placed nearly as it was on b5, but a pawn is a pawn, so I'm willing to misplace it temporarily to win that. I thought he might get on the file right away. I thought this was his plan, and I was probably going to play knight d5. I could play rook d1, but knight d5 strikes me as a better move. And then if takes, take with the c-pawn. And then c5 is the target. My knight can come to c4. This is probably just a technical win for white. I'm up a pawn still. Yeah, I don't think he can resist here. So he played bishop b7. I get on the file, rook d1. Time was becoming more of a concern. Rook d6. Yeah, my original intention here was to play knight d5. But I think after king f7, which guards against the threat of knight e7 check, I'm not getting anywhere. Because I would love to have the time to like bring over this knight, let's say do a maneuver like I attempted in the game, knight c2 to a1 to b3 and attack this. But he can kick this rook out of here. I think knight e8 is now the threat, right? Like if I do something like this, knight e8, and suddenly this rook is trapped. So, hence I played bishop d1. They played knight e8. At least I made them move the knight to the back rank in order to kick my rook out. So rook d6 wasn't a total loss of time. Here, king f7, bishop a4. Swapping the light square bishops looks good. That piece was a poor piece for me. Rook into d5, attacking the pawn. And here I started maneuvering with my knights. So if I get two more moves, I'm going to play knight a1 to b3, and this pawn's a goner. So he's got to cook up some counterplay. And he did. I don't know if bishop d6 is necessary, but he did play knight f6, attacking the rook and backing it off. I think g5 is correct. It just seemed like from here, black played very poorly. There's no other way to say it. I mean, I think I might have even misplayed it over the last few moves. I'm not sure if this was the optimal knight maneuver. But right around here, yeah, instead of playing a move like rook g8, trying to get on the g file, which might be open pretty soon, he plays rook b8. This seems much more challenging, though. I think I probably would have played knight d5, but maybe I have to worry about the threat of g takes f3, g takes f3, rook g1 check, followed by rook f1. Like, say that happens, knight d5. I guess I'm threatening knight takes f6. Let's say knight e8, as the computer's saying. King c2. And let's say take, rook into g1. What's going on here? Yeah, the computer still says +2, but I really don't know. I mean, this would make me much more nervous than what happened in the game. In the game, the king side stayed completely closed. So he's got to try for something active like that. He played rook b8. I went back to d5. Yeah, now I'm threatening to eliminate the knight and then take his g-pawn. Or the immediate threat is knight takes knight, king takes knight, rook takes d6. So he took. Interesting the computer likes this move. So I suppose if here the point is he doesn't have to take the knight, he can insert this, threatening to promote. And then after rook takes, then take here. This would not be good for me. He's got a protected passed f-pawn. So takes, though. Yeah, so maybe g takes f3. And then perhaps move this knight. Knight g8. Anything wrong with knight e8? Knight e8 does block the rook from coming over, so that's unfortunate. He missed the moment to play the rook to g8. It's doing nothing on the b file. I think the chances that he's going to be able to play like rook b4 and take c4 are pretty low, so he shouldn't have put it there. So take, check. I took with the c-pawn, and then king here, and now I took on g4. So my plan was if c4, I thought I could play knight a5 in this case, because after bishop here, I have knight c6, forking the bishop and the rook. And if he takes my rook, I take b8. Check. This is similar to the game. I think I'm just going to win. And he has no targets, and I'm up 2 pawns. And my knight is coming back to c6. Yeah, this is over. So he played rook g8. I played h3. He played c4. That was good. So now that his rook is not on b8, I can't play knight a5 anymore because of this. And knight c6 will just hang this rook. Even here, apparently, white's doing pretty well. I can sack the exchange. And because I am ahead 3 pawns, white is still for choice and still pushing. But being up 2 pawns, I didn't want to take that risk, so I just played the knight to c1. Maybe he can drum up some sort of play here, but it seems unlikely. Yeah, and this was just a blunder, and I blundered right back by not taking the pawn on c4. I glanced over at my time, and I was like, okay, I gotta hurry. So I just played my knight out, but of course rook takes c4 is just a free pawn right here. Yeah, I think this position is got to be close to loss for him. I mean, probably playing rook g8 and maybe forcing through h5, just in a bid to get at that g2 pawn is his only way of playing, but it might only present me with some temporary difficulties. I mean, one point is like, after rook g8, I can't play knight e2 because h5 looks pretty good. And if take, then take here. And he might be getting something. Maybe I could play rook c3. If I take c4, I assume that this move again is a bit troublesome. So he should try to switch the rook over and try to gain counterplay. Maybe I can play this slowly, like rook c3 perhaps. Oh no, but rook c3, he still goes h5. So maybe h5 is coming, and I'll just have to take that pawn when it happens. Therefore, I think I want my rook on the second rank protecting the g-pawn. But if I play something defensive like rook f2, then this bishop starts to make itself felt. Like rook f2, bishop c5, rook f3, like maybe bishop here or here. Still not easy. I could have made it a lot simpler on myself after rook b8, though, by taking on c4. But I did this. Rook b4. I played a3, attacking the rook. Here, rook c3. Yeah, now taking seems completely lost. He should probably go backwards. Yeah, actually, after a3, he should immediately play rook b8, which would threaten bishop takes a3. So if I take c4, he can take here and slow me down. Possibly after rook b4, I shouldn't play a3 right away. There might be more subtle ways of playing, but it's hard to understand subtleties when you're getting this low on time. Rook c3, take, take. But here, the problem is black has absolutely no counterplay. I mean, even if I sat here and did nothing, there's very little black can do. Because their king or their bishop always has to stay in the vicinity of the d-pawn. I also have a majority on this wing, on the king side, with the h and g pawns, so he has to watch me playing like h4 and g5 at any moment. King c2. Yeah, and the bishop doesn't have enough targets. The knight is just supreme here. I can maneuver this to that f3 square, and I should just be winning. Yeah, knight b1. Coming to d2, which he cannot stop. And from d2, I'm attacking c4 and also looking at the f3 square. So this was the winning maneuver. He protected that pawn, but yeah, knight f3. I was wondering about b4 check. I thought this might also work. Trying to drive away the king from the defense of this pawn. King b5, d6. I just didn't want to have to calculate something like this. But yeah, this should probably be winning pretty simply as well. Knight f3 to g5, or knight f3 to h4, as in the game, was far easier. Even here I could just take on d4. But I wanted to avoid anything with semblance of complications like this. Not that I was trying to win too carefully, but like here at least he has a protected pass pawn. I would have to win by reverting to my h and g pawns, and he can't stop my 3 pass pawns that I'm going to have with just his d pawn and his king. But knight h4 entails absolutely no risk. I can just play the knight into f5 and win this. Yeah, putting the bishop on e3 is the only thing he can do. He's hoping for knight takes h6, f3, discovered attack on the knight. Even this is probably winning, h4, and I've just got so many pawns that are marching. But once again, we don't want to calculate that. So I just took on e3. Yeah, and king d1. Even that move, probably not necessary. I think I could play h4, but I just wanted to make sure that my king was going to stand right in front of his only pass pawn. Yeah, and he's lost. 2 pass pawns that are going to be split like that are overwhelming. His king can only stop one of them. And actually, even if his king were in the vicinity of both pawns, like my king coming up and taking e3 and then having the ability to roam and collect his pawns is too much. So, yeah, like I said, kind of strange that a guy with this stats, like, seems strong, would play kind of quickly and poorly in the early middle game. I mean, yeah, objectively the position is good for white after d6, but I think he made some superficial decisions. Like a4 was just bad. This stage of the game he maybe played okay. Missing the opportunity to play rook g8 and try to gain counterplay on the king side seemed inconsistent for him. So a little surprising that he went down this easily. Nevertheless, it was an interesting game, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. So thanks for watching, guys. Bye.